We now have the names of every content creator that Blake Lively's team was going after with her subpoenas to Google, X, and TikTok. And yes, TikTok was included. Justin Baldoni's team filed a letter to the judge yesterday in response to Blake Lively's team's letter that they wrote trying to remove the attorney's eyes only section that was included on some documents that Tag, Melissa Nathan's company, had given them. So as you know, Blake and the rest of the team are right in the middle of discovery and subpoenas and everything else, trying to collect all the evidence they can for court in March. Now, she subpoenaed all of Justin Baldoni's team asking for this: to identify all content creators with whom you have communicated in any manner concerning Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, the complaint, the lawsuit, the Lively companies or Reynolds companies, or digital campaign from May until present. Baldoni's team had been saying that her request was too broad and she needed to narrow it down. So they've been going back and forth on wording. So it's been agreed on this is what she was looking for: any individual or entity who seeds, generates, creates, or influences social media content or provides related digital or social media services directly or indirectly at the request of or on behalf of any Wayfarer party or their agents or affiliates. So Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer, etc. have not responded to this. They have not given her what she's asked for yet. But Melissa Nathan from Tag, the crisis PR management, did give her documents or her list or her names or whatever it was she was giving. Now, when she gave it, she designated it as attorney's eyes only, which means that Blake Lively couldn't even see it. Just the lawyers could. So in response to this, Blake Lively's team filed a letter saying this does not fall under client confidentiality or client privilege or whatever it is, and it needs to be removed. They also said this. So Blake has been getting a ton of backlash online, of course, because she subpoenaed Google, X, and now we know TikTok as well. And she subpoenaed them for certain creators' information, just their basic general info, like their usernames, their IP address, their bank number, a number of other things. People are saying that they went after the bank statements of these creators. That is not true. Google and TikTok, they do not have your banking statements or any information at all about your banking. All they have is your number to send money to. So Blake apparently wanted that as well. I'm guessing to compare legal statements or to compare bank statements. I have no idea, but that was included as well. These creators online got a letter from Google and X just letting them know that they've gotten a subpoena for their information. So the creators, of course, are freaking out. They don't know what to do. Some have hired lawyers, some are representing themselves, but they have a chance to file a motion to quash. So basically they can write the judge a letter and say, I'm not involved in this. I don't like it. I don't want my information given to Blake Lively's team. So the backlash Blake is getting is based on a lot of misunderstanding and miscommunication, as well as some creators twisting things to make it sound worse. And what's actually going around is that Blake is now being the aggressor because she's filed these subpoenas. She has to file these subpoenas. This is how she gets the evidence she needs for court. And she's not subpoenaing these content creators. She has subpoenaed media companies for certain information about certain content creators. So these creators, as far as I know, are in no trouble. They are not being told they can't post content. Their freedom of speech is not being trampled on. It has nothing to do with that. So Blake's team had addressed the backlash Blake is getting online by writing this. Moreover, these misdesignations are having very real impacts. Now she's talking about the attorney's eyes only part. For example, if Miss Lively issues subpoenas related to individuals identified in Tag's interrogatory responses to marshal evidence about their involvement in the smear campaign, she will be hindered in her ability to meet and confer or respond to questions, and will be unable to explain to such subpoenaed parties that the discovery directed towards them is based in part on the fact that Tag identified them. Immediately, we all got excited. We thought there was a list now. We thought Melissa Nathan from Tag had given Blake Lively's team this list, and that's who she subpoenaed. Well, apparently it's not. She did write in this letter if she subpoenas these individuals, so it didn't really say she did, but we all jumped and hoped that this was what it was. We thought this is why she did it. Okay, now we have answers to why just 16 specific content creators on Google were subpoenaed. They go on to say, content creators who have been the subject of discovery have already painted Miss Lively as the aggressor in this lawsuit and have drawn a false equivalency between her discovery efforts and the Wayfarer party's alleged smear campaign. Now, they're talking about one person in particular. So it said content creators who have been the subject. So now she's saying people we have subpoenaed. And then she gives an example. She says, or they say, it's their lawyers. One subpoenaed content creator even went so far as to record a call with a receptionist from Miss Lively's attorney's office without express consent and then posted the recording on YouTube. Now, they're referring to Andy from Popcorn Planet. He has been subpoenaed, and I believe he's also included in the Google subpoena, but he also had his own subpoena given to him. So Wayfarer has now filed their response letter, and we were wrong. So the random people that were being subpoenaed through Google, TikTok, and X, they're not in TAG's list. Well, except for one of them. One of them is included, but the rest, they're not in that list. We still haven't seen that list. So have they been subpoenaed? Are they getting subpoenaed? We don't know. But the people that were randomly given the subpoena through Google and TikTok and X, we still don't know why she chose them. Did she get that information from Jed Wallace? Was that in something else she got? Was there a company she hired to investigate, hits online? We have no idea right now. We thought we had the answer. We don't. Here's what Wayfarer's letter said. So it starts out by saying, this is counsel for Wayfarer, including Melissa Nathan at TAG, because she's the one that had given over the Attorney's Eyes Only form. And it says, we write in response to Blake's motion to compel to de-designate what was marked as confidential attorney's eyes only. Then they get into it. So they say, according to the motion, a core component of Lively's claims is that the Wayfarer parties are engaged in a smear campaign to somehow manipulate the apparently worldwide media landscape using untraceable sources. Just a note on the untraceable, they use that a lot in here in quotes as if it comes from Blake. But it came from them. Untraceable is their word. That's what they were calling this campaign. They said it was going to be completely untraceable. And this is just one example of where they used it. This was an email from Melissa Nathan to Jamie Heath and Jennifer Abel when they're talking about how much Jed Wallace is going to cost and what his job's going to be. They write right here, all of this will be most importantly untraceable. I just find it odd that they keep throwing this in here when it's their fault it's out there. They're the ones that call this untraceable. But anyway, we're carrying on. So they're talking about this untraceable campaign that Blake is alleging. Lively knows precisely which news articles or stories and the authors thereof she takes issue with, but also undermines any jurisdiction for her ongoing effort to use this court and the federal rules of civil procedure to discover the untraceable. They're using it again. In any event, Lively contends that TAG may have been able to obscure its contacts in connection with the initial smear campaign. Now, that's a quote from Lively's letter. That is an admission, no, it's not, that despite months of discovery, her receipt of thousands of pages of documents, and her service of dozens of subpoenas and other requests for written discovery, Lively has no evidence that the Wayfarer parties employed a smear campaign or did anything in August 2024. I'm not sure why they only list August of 2024, but anyway, other than protect their reputations, as they are entitled to do when Lively's allegations were publicized. So if I'm not mistaken, Lively's allegations weren't publicized until December, so I'm not actually sure what that's about. But as far as them saying that this is an admission that she didn't get anything, she has no evidence, that's not the case. They have not admitted that at all, and they actually haven't received everything they're looking for yet. They have not received any of the lists from any of the Wayfarer parties except for Melissa Nathan yet, and there's a lot more that's supposed to be coming from Discovery, and she hasn't gotten anything from any of her subpoenas yet, so that's not true. Indeed, TAG was not retained until early August 2024, rendering Lively's claim that in less than 2 weeks, TAG was able to turn the public against her incredible. Not really. I don't think it would take that long to turn the public, especially since people were already not liking the marketing of the movie. Unable to accept the fact that the public backlash against Lively was purely organic, the motion improperly seeks to blame TAG for Lively's sinking reputation. It was not purely organic. The dislike of the marketing absolutely was purely organic. But cutting Blake's interviews to only show bad parts, that's not organic. Then again, I find the next part of this letter a bit confusing as well, because what they're saying is that there's a broad scope in her request for what she wanted, but they've already fought over that and they narrowed it down. I showed you earlier exactly what the wording was, so it's not a broad scope anymore. Without citation to any evidence, the motion alleges that the individuals identified in the interrogatory responses have spoken publicly about Miss Lively and this lawsuit, apparently at the behest of TAG and other Wayfarer defendants. And then they go on to admit this. They say, this is why the interrogatory responses identify those to whom TAG has harmlessly provided quotes from the Wayfarer Party's counsel in response to media requests for formal statements in connection with legal developments herein, as Lively's legal team has repeatedly done. So they admit it, but they say it's harmless. They harmlessly communicated with these content creators. Now, we already knew this was happening because Andy from Popcorn Planet even admitted in one of his videos that he received the dancing video from set of Blake and Justin straight from Justin's attorney. I'm guessing that's probably what Blake's team is trying to get now, these harmless statements that were sent to these content creators. Like, what were the talking points? What was it saying? Is it defamation? Is it retaliation? She doesn't know until she sees them. They go on to say that this is not an admission that TAG communicated with these individuals to tarnish Lively's reputation, and that she's not going to uncover anything nefarious about the efforts they've made. They word it kind of oddly, though. Listen to how they word this. Lively will not uncover any nefarious efforts by the Wayfarer parties, and then they specify, to convince anyone that she is anything or nothing at all. Like, what does that mean? The fact that she's being labeled as a bitch and a bully now? Are they saying they didn't do that, but they're not saying they didn't do other things? Like, I find the wording really weird in that. And this one too. In fact, TAG did not communicate with any content creators about this matter or the underlying allegations until 2025, when requests for comment were offered, or asked for, I guess is what they're saying. Now, this makes a bit of sense because a lot of these content creators like Candace Owens didn't jump on the Blake hate train until January of 2025. So it makes sense that that's when Melissa Nathan and her crisis management team started reaching out to these people. Then it goes into quote Blake Lively's team and how they're saying that all of this, the AEO documents, have had a very real impact in the form of content creators who are the subject of discovery, have already painted her as the aggressor in the lawsuit and are coming to draw a false equivalency between her discovery efforts and the smear campaign with Wayfarer. But this is actually true. So Baldoni's team is saying that she's using this to blame TAG, and really it is partly TAG's fault. Blake wasn't allowed to tell Popcorn Planet, Andy, why he was being subpoenaed, and he made all these videos about it because of that. In fact, he was subpoenaed because allegedly he has been in contact with Team Justin through Melissa Nathan or whoever else, and he was on the list. This section talks about the fact that the public backlash was triggered by subpoenas that Lively's counsel served. It absolutely was. But Blake's team is saying, listen, this is partly your fault. We subpoenaed Andy from Popcorn Planet because of your list from TAG, and we couldn't tell him that, and then he made all these nasty videos. So I kind of think it's both their faults. Blake has to do these subpoenas to get evidence. Of course, the creators don't like it, but they're not helping it matters here at all. And this part cracked me up. They actually say here, according to one article, there was only, to my knowledge, one article written on this. I think it was from the Daily Mail. And the only reason that it got published is because these content creators that are so anti-Blake, like Kirsty Flaw, have been messaging all of these media outlets trying to get them to cover the story, and no one has. I personally think it's because people are tired of it. People have moved on. They're losing interest. It's just, there's too much to it. But anyway, they quote this article and they term it as, according to one article, like the only article, if Blake Lively had been hoping to garner public sympathy in her ongoing sexual harassment lawsuit with Justin Baldoni, that now seems unlikely, given the backlash over her subpoena to Google for information about several pro-Justin Baldoni YouTubers. I don't believe she's been trying to get sympathy from the public. I think she's trying to defend her name and her reputation that has been completely ruined over everything that happened. I did like, however, that they do acknowledge in here that she's just seeking all account information. That's it. She's not going after their content, nothing like that. She just wants their account information, the basic stuff that you give to Google or TikTok or whoever when you sign up. Now, this next part, I really don't like the wording in. I think that they worded this very carefully to make us think one thing when it's actually talking about something else. So listen to this part right here. It says, third, of the various content creators and members of the mainstream media identified in the interrogatory responses, only one of them is the subject of the social media subpoenas. We were given two lists. One, we all saw. It was a list of these apparent content creators and members of the mainstream media. We all saw it. It had Candace Owens, Perez Hilton, Andy from Popcorn Planet. Then we were given the second list, which we're not allowed to see, which is the attorney's eyes only. I feel like they're talking about the first list, which we all saw, and making it sound like they're talking about the second list, which we can't see. The other part with that is I like that they admitted that one is part of the Google whatever subpoenas, because if you recall, Perez Hilton and Candace Owens isn't on that Google subpoena list, right? They got their own subpoena, but Andy is. So he would be the one that is on both lists. So I really think they're trying to twist this here and make us think it's something it's not. I don't like that at all. And then they ended off, of course, by saying that Blake Lively's team should have continued in the meet and confer process instead of filing a response letter. But I personally feel they had to file the response letter because people were getting up in arms about these Google subpoenas. And I think they wanted to just clear that up. But anyway, they filed that response. They're saying that it was just done to use this as, in their words, to wrongly foist upon TAG and the other Wayfarer parties the culpability for the criticism Lively has faced for her social media subpoenas. So the bottom line is they've agreed to take off the AEO designation, the attorney's eyes only. So the question now is, are we going to be able to see the list, or are they going to keep it private and sealed? We don't know right now. What we do know is the people who did receive the notification from Google, TikTok, and X that their information was being subpoenaed from these social media companies, but we still don't know why, because we can't see this list yet. But is it even from Melissa Nathan's list, or is it from something else? We don't know. So up first is the one that got us all talking. This is the Google subpoena. So this is the subpoena that was sent to Google asking for these creators' basic account information. So their username, how they get paid on Google, their IP address, etc. Top of the list, I don't think it's any surprise for anyone. The reporter who first leaked the decade-old video of Blake Lively in the interview, Flossom Talk. So she is the woman. She uploaded the video with no context. If you're curious why Blake reacted the way she did in that video, go to my file for Blake Lively and find my video on it. There was a ton of context around why she answered the way she did. But anyway, this reporter, her whole YouTube account now, which has tons of views every day, all she does is smear Blake Lively and sell anti-Blake Lively merch online. But she's number one. A lot of these I'm not familiar with. Spill Stash, I actually follow her content and watch her all the time. Not on YouTube, but on TikTok. Without a Crystal Ball, I think everyone knows enough about that situation. She's been involved in these lawsuits enough times to, yeah, anyway. Popcorn Planet, so that's Andy. He is the one who is on both lists. So he's on this list as well as getting his own subpoena from Blake Lively's team. Astrology with Janessa, I think it's cut off. She's the one that everybody was trying to say, what the hell is Blake Lively doing? She's subpoenaing an astrologist. Her content's not just astrology. It's all Team Baldoni on there. She does a lot of celebrity gossip. So I guess that's why she's subpoenaed. Cassidy, I'm not familiar with her content, but she is the one who filed so far the motion to quash. And I think this Lethal Lauren, I think she filed one as well. And I think that's all that I recognize from this page. An even bigger list from X, formerly Twitter. Now, I have an account on there, but I never use it, so I don't know who any of these people are. And the TikTok list. So there's only 7 users on this one that she was asking TikTok for their information. These accounts were odd. I don't know any of these accounts. One of them, I think it might be this one, the user account. I can't remember. Looks like he's calling himself the Popcorn Planet guy, but it's not the Popcorn Planet guy. Maybe you guys will know what it is. I have no idea. One of them, I think this Lily one, supposedly had some sort of meet or encounter with Blake that she talks about. And some of the other ones, they have like a video pinned that's anti-Blake, bashing Blake, and it will have like 23 million views or something crazy like that. So I don't know what the scoop is with these, if they're fake accounts, if they're bot accounts, I have no idea.